Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The WBC champion Deontay Wilder will have his next fight against Luis Ortiz. The Bronze Bomber has confirmed this on his social media. So this is the post here from Twitter. Wilder v Ortiz 2 and then 5 fire emojis. To all my fans, I want to announce that Luis Ortiz and I have signed for a rematch with the date and site to be announced shortly. All my controversial fights must get dealt with ASAP. And then 2 exclamation points, hashtag Bomb Squad. So that announcement, it's very interesting, the timing of this, and I'll touch on this in the video and then get on to some thoughts about the rematch itself. So with the timing of this, it comes in Anthony Joshua fight week. Joshua preparing to face Andy Ruiz Jr. on June 1st. Wilder announcing this, sans a date, sans a venue, but saying that he is rematching Luis Ortiz. And you might have noticed there, all my controversial fights must get dealt with ASAP. So that would indicate that not only is Luis Ortiz next, but then Tyson Fury would be the guy that they're targeting after that. So Anthony Joshua, who has been calling for Deontay Wilder to fight him in 2019, to fight him next. Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn has been very vocal about it, saying this is the fight we have to make. Joshua in the past couple of days has been saying, look, me and Deontay Wilder, we have to get this done. I'm ready to fight him. I would need to fight him. We have to get this on. This is the fight that the heavyweight division needs. And he said that he needed to get into a room with Deontay Wilder to sit down and talk about all this face to face. So the timing of Deontay Wilder now coming out in Anthony Joshua's fight week saying, my rematch has been confirmed. The timing's very interesting as well. And I would note, normally what happens with an announcement of this sort, one, you would get the date and the venue. But 2, there would be all sorts of things that would come in behind this, official sort of press releases, announcements, all that sort of stuff on a Premier Boxing Champions website. At the time that this has been announced, there's none of that. So what would normally be an official press release that gets mailed out hasn't happened. The only thing that Premier Boxing Champions has said from their social media accounts is heavyweight world champion Bronze Bomber has just announced his next fight will be a rematch versus Luis Ortiz, hashtag Wilder Ortiz 2. So very threadbare on information. And I think part of what has led to this announcement in a Joshua fight week is getting ahead of Anthony Joshua and Ruiz on June 1st, because Joshua say he beats Ruiz after the fight. What's he going to do? He's going to call out Deontay Wilder. There's a lot of fan expectation and pressure for this fight to get made, but you actually sort of negate some of that by getting ahead of all that, getting ahead of some of what would have occurred, and you've influenced what Joshua can now do and say, because obviously he can't say, well, we're both free now. We should be fighting next, because Wilder's confirmed, actually, I'm tied up. But not just that, he's also indicated that he's likely to be tied up after Luis Ortiz. He says all my controversial fights must get dealt with ASAP. So that would lead us to all believe that Tyson Fury will be a guy that will be the next potentially after Luis Ortiz, should he beat Luis Ortiz. So I think some of this is obviously they've made a decision, potentially at short notice, that we need to get ahead of Joshua's fight with Ruiz, just to help sort of nudge the narrative in a different direction, because obviously all of us as heavyweight boxing fans, we want to see the big fight, but now we're categorically not going to see that next. It's not going to be in 2019. And these are the signals that Deontay Wilder has been sending out for a number of weeks now, that he's tried to position it as, well, Joshua had said way back when, 2020 was the year, so he's going to get his wish. I've got things that I want to do. As he said, I've got things on the line. I've got other guys that I want to fight. And obviously, a Luis Ortiz rematch looked like the logical next step. And he has confirmed this is going to be the guy that he's going to fight. And he's been talking about Tyson Fury, that is something that needs to be cleaned up, and his statements would indicate that also potentially is in the pipeline. Fury himself has been talking about a rematch in potentially March or April next year. And given Wilder only fights twice a year, you're looking at Ortiz in a few months' time, and then March or April. Well, that keeps him to his 2 fights a year. So an undisputed fight would most likely be the back end of 2020. Probably not the news that most fight fans want to hear, but It's been pretty well signalled now for a number of weeks, and there has been some expectation management going on. Deontay Wilder's rhetoric had changed. He'd softened the, position of, the fight with Joshua to sort of say, I've got my own thing going on here. And part of that is to build his commercial value. As he said after his fight with Dominic Breazeale, it's all about money now and getting the most money from an undisputed fight. But I guess the rub is they all have to stay undefeated to actually get there and get the money. And it's heavyweight boxing, nothing is guaranteed. And there is a lot of danger with the Luis Ortiz rematch. Although Ortiz is now 40 years old, he still represents risk for Deontay Wilder. He showed in that first fight he has the potential to hurt Deontay Wilder with that left hand. He had him in all sorts of trouble in that 7th round. So it could be one of these situations where he could give him another run for his money in the rematch. Although just my early sort of feeling on this is that Luis Ortiz probably gets beaten quicker by Deontay Wilder the second time around. I think Wilder's been in there now. He knows what he's about. To that point in his career, it was the biggest fight of his career. It's the best win on his record. I think if he fights the way that he did against Dominic Breazeale, where he seemingly was more relaxed and, he obviously got into his work pretty quickly, then Luis Ortiz could be in trouble. But at this point, I would be favouring Deontay Wilder to beat Luis Ortiz in that rematch. No guarantees, though. Ortiz, he's sort of lamented the fact he lost that first fight. He's aware of the mistakes that he made, and he said, he would rectify the things that he did wrong to get Deontay Wilder out of there the second time. Obviously, the controversy that Wilder speaks of in relation to, his controversial fights in the Ortiz one, it was getting the extra seconds after he was hurt in round 7, heading into round 8, the doctor inextricably up on the canvas, so not during the minute between rounds, but he was up on the canvas after the bell rang for round 8, delayed the fight by about 8 seconds, and that has stuck with some fans, and obviously people feel that that extra time helped Deontay Wilder. So fighting Ortiz again, cleaning it up, there is some interest for me in that fight. Nowhere near as much as the first fight, but it would still be a good heavyweight scrap. And in this day and age where there's very few competitive fights, this is still a competitive fight. Probably 60-40 in favour of Deontay Wilder, maybe 65-35. Luis Ortiz has shown some vulnerability in some of his fights since the Christian Hammer one back in March of this year. Didn't look fantastic. Hammer was able to tag him with that right hand quite a number of times during the fight, and obviously he wouldn't be able to take too many shots from Deontay Wilder, otherwise he would get knocked out again, which was the end result of their first fight. But the fight has been announced. Date TBC, venue TBC. Interestingly, the announcements come in Joshua's fight week. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.